Don't. Don't open that box. What have you done? You shouldn't have opened it. You shouldn't have opened it. Opened it. Opened it.
Hello, listening people.
Hello.
You're listening to Spin Polish Presents The Mystery Box. I am one of your hosts, Ryan Swinsky.
And I am Bartek Kasprzyszak.
Are you a host?
Yes.
Or are you a listening person that's just intruded?
I'm a host.
You are a host?
I'm a host.
You're a host?
I'm a host.
Of Spin Polish Presents?
Yes.
The show in which we're always spinning and we both happen to be Polish, and we're presenting a show in which we do monthly and we cover movies that are in a mysterious box filled with DVDs.
This is a really long question.
Well, you need a really good answer then.
Yeah.
No, I have to start again. So, in which we...
The answer is yes.
Oh, good. So you've listened to the show before?
Yes, I've listened to almost every episode.
Not every episode.
I haven't listened to the lost episode and the most
Typical.
recent one.
Do we have a guest for this episode, Bartek?
Of course we do. What do you think the guy's there for?
Oh, it's a guy, huh?
Yeah.
Oh, good. Good. Who is it?
It's Mr. Oh, you're again here. It's Will Brooks.
It's the mystery box, baby.
And that's Will's
I'm
introduction.
wet.
I'm Will.
Will,
What W
what
word are you,
a
Ryan?
pleasure. Oh, I'm wild. So,
Wet, Wild, and Will.
Wet Wild Will. Wet Wild Will. That's his new name.
That's his cowboy name.
that
He used to
is-
be Billy Bob Will, but now he's Wet Wild Will. So, Wet Wild Will, we brought you in again to cover the mystery box just because I missed you. I was like, we need to get Will back. I know we had him 2 episodes ago, but technically it would have been 3 episodes ago for us.
Yeah,
But like,
lost episode.
we missed Will. We needed him back. We had him for War Story, and I thought, well, we better apologize for that episode because that episode's fantastic, but War Story fucking sucked. I know Bart's giving me the side eye. He's like, I liked War Story. How dare you? I thought it was
I liked
great.
the episode.
Not the
episode.
episodes of War Story.
Go on, Ryan, be a guy.
I'm just trying to be a guy. I'm just trying to be a guy.
So, Will, we brought you back to pick a movie at random.
Mm-hmm.
Movies, projects, videos,
DVDs.
objects of desire that have been found secondhand, complete mysteries to us, including you. You came in and you picked something.
Oh, things were picked.
And what did you pick?
That's actually good things, yeah. plural.
When I unwrapped the brown paper, I immediately saw that there was no cover on the DVD, which it does have an explanation. I opened it up, and it's the horror
disc.
the third disc of the thriller 10-pack,
Yeah.
and the
This is
the,
pack
the
3 of that.
Thriller 10-pack 3,
disc
3.
free, disc free, pack free. There's 10 movies though,
But what did you pick?
and the very first movie on the disc was Mr. Scarface.
Mr. Scarface.
Not MR, but full on spelled M-I-S-T-E-R.
So,
Full-blown Mr. Scarface.
how pumped were you when you picked a DVD with no cover, and then when you opened up, it had 3 options of movies? Were you pretty pumped?
I thought we were going to watch all 3, so I'm like, this is going to be a really long episode.
Man, I really wanted to watch the second one.
Yeah.
But we'll get into that.
Ryan has alluded in recent months that there's one thing he's really waiting for, and will happen to pick the disc that it's on, but it wasn't the default option on the menu.
It wasn't the first one.
But next time it's picked, Ryan.
Hopefully next time we'll get that spooky movie. So we got Mr. Scarface, a complete mystery to us.
Mhm.
This film was found at an op shop, of course, in a Thriller Pack 3 10-movie pack, and all of these movies looked fantastic. I had to grab it. It looked unique. It looked scary. It looked chilling.
Mhm.
I'm aroused looking at it.
Yep.
And the cover of it, it's very generic. Like, you have a bunch of pictures of every movie except for Mr. Scarface on the cover. But don't worry.
He's on the spine.
He's on the spine. And then on the back, it shows you the individual posters for each one. And Mr. Scarface's one is very simple. It's got that red to black gradient background Mr. Scarface's giant face, like just Jack Palance's horrible face, looking like he's doing a Zoolander, like he's doing a Blue Steel.
Blue Steel with a bit of Dirty
And
Harry.
then underneath it are just pictures from the movie, like a guy getting kicked through glass, people playing pool or poker or something. My favorite thing in movies, poker.
Yeah.
And a guy dying in someone's arms, and that's the cover.
And just to establish the mystery box lore, this
Lore.
this Thriller Pack 3 has 4 discs, of which the 10 films are separated on. So there's, of all the things in the mystery box, 4 of them are from this Thriller Pack.
So it's going to be exciting.
There will be hopefully 9 episodes in this whole series where we go through this big pack. 9 more, that is.
Before we continue, may I clarify something for the listening
Yeah,
people?
we'll allow it.
Because there may be some confusion.
Oh,
'Cause
for
I
sure.
said that. Oh, there'll be fucking confusion coming. But we'll get to that confusion later. This particular bit of confusion is I said, oh, the DVD didn't have a cover, but then Ryan was just talking about the cover. So to clarify, the 10 pack has
to
a
be
cover,
separated.
but then the discs were put into blank
Because if we had it in the
ones.
box, people would just choose the big one. The big box.
Yeah.
And it
Inside the
wouldn't
box.
be a mystery.
No, it would be, oh, it's the 10 pack. Unless I spitefully put in random DVDs in the 10 pack.
You put discs in different boxes.
Oh, that would be annoying.
Yeah, it would.
Because then we'd have to open up another box to get the
Because
cover of that movie.
Okay, well, this is the Mr. Scarface cover, so it's not going to be Mr. Scarface.
That's a Scarface. He's bad news, I can tell you. Just looking at him and my asshole twitches.
Mr. Scarface.
Yes? I mean, yeah,
Before
what?
we even put the movie on, we saw the menu. It was one of those generic menus.
Yep.
We all kind of went, okay, it's going to be Mr. Scarface. It was Mr. Scarface. Before we even started, what did we think we were going to get out of this movie?
So I kind of forgot that it was a thriller pack. I thought it was a horror pack.
Don't worry, it didn't matter.
Yeah, it really didn't. Or at least I was
Because
thinking...
this isn't a thriller either.
I thought that it was going to be a spooky movie of some sort. Because
Yeah, right?
Yeah. I saw a little bit of that small cover on the back of the thriller pack, and I thought, oh, okay, so obviously Mr. Scarface is this gentleman here, and he's the villain.
Yeah.
I guess he's going to terrorize some good folks.
Right, so you thought he was going to be like a Freddy. Like he's going to be like a spooky presence that's going to haunt people.
I honestly don't know
Stalk
what I was
them?
thinking, but
He's Michael Myers.
I thought he was gonna be scary in some regard,
Will?
and he was. But
No, he wasn't. You're fucking a liar.
what, you mean when I was laughing at his scar because it looked like a teardrop?
We'll get into the scar. Will, what did you think you were going to get when you saw it was going to be Mr. Scarface?
I heard the word thriller, but I again didn't, like Bartek, I didn't register, and I thought horror, so I thought, oh, there'll be some sort of supernatural horror elements going on here. There were some things that were not natural in this movie. But
Hey,
it's
leave the
not-
kitten alone.
It's not a supernatural movie.
I guess I'm the odd one out. Because I did remember it was a thriller pack. I did also think there was going to be horror because the rest of them look like more horror movies.
Yeah.
But here's the thing. I knew immediately to disregard whatever those things were. And I just thought it's going to be a gangster movie because it's called Mr. Scarface. And obviously when you allude to that, you're
I would be
alluding...
horror gangster.
You're
Supernatural
alluding,
gangsters.
No, you're alluding to Al Capone, right?
Yeah.
And obviously Scarface, the movie, you know, with Al Pacino, not Scarface, the original from the 40s. So I thought it was just going to be a gangster movie. I just went, oh. And I said even before we started, like when I pressed start, I was like, oh, you know what there's going to be? There's going to be like a cheapo Al Capone movie. And I was wrong too. like it's not that either. It's a movie at least.
Yeah.
At least I could say this was a feature film. It didn't just meet the standards of being a feature film, but it also wasn't just the length. It did have a 3-act structure. I did understand what was going on. Sometimes I didn't understand the choices, but I understood what the movie was doing. I just didn't care.
And you know what?
Play the clip from Magic Kid 2, Ryan, in which I just
I
have the
don't
guy
care.
going, I don't care.
I don't care.
You know, it also met other standards. It met the standards of 2 gentlemen named Lloyd and Michael.
Yes. Yes.
The
So,
first big laugh that we had.
not just laugh. Shock. Shock we had. We didn't expect the Troma Films logo to pop up and welcome us at the beginning of this
With
movie.
Lloyd Kaufman and Michael Herz's name.
We didn't expect this to be a Troma Presents movie, and as soon as we saw that, we got an expectation
Yeah.
of what it was going to be. But quickly, we realized that expectation could be false because, Bartek, you mentioned that they don't just make movies, they acquire other movies and promote them.
Like Cannibal
through
the Musical for people that follow Pictures Powwow.
Pictures Powwow. Exactly, like they buy art stuff and do that. So then I got really worried because this movie looks really old.
Well, specifically, we were joking that he was going to turn up. Then I said that, and we're like, oh, he's not going to turn up.
Man, if he turned up in this movie as Scarface.
So Ryan, what is Troma for people that don't know?
Troma is a trash pile. No, Troma are people who make C grade, D grade movies. They're below B.
Yeah.
They make B grade, like not even B grade, C grade movies for cheap.
B grade.
They do straight to video for most part. I think pretty much.
I think so.
I would love it if they had one that was released in cinemas, and we were like, "Oh yes, of course,
They have a Troma.
of course,
Fest.
my left foot." You know, like and they have a Troma Fest, and it's basically Lloyd. What's his last name? Lloyd
Kaufman. I've heard, yeah.
is he just is the king of trash. They make these trashy, sleazy movies that are hysterically funny if you're in the right context for them. Such films as The Toxic Avenger, Sergeant Kabuki Man,
Tromeo and Juliet.
Nukem High, a few others of great.
Poultrygeist, Night of the Chicken Dead.
Yeah, great, and people have come out of Troma, like James Gunn originated from Troma.
Yep, he directed or writ
He-
Tromeo and Juliet.
I think he wrote Tromeo and Juliet
Yeah.
because he did a lot more writing at the beginning of his career, like Scooby-Doo.
Yep.
So when you see that the on purposely funny trash movie company, like these guys aren't Asylum, okay? Like they're not like the Asylum movie company who make direct rip-off
Yeah,
trash.
mockbusters.
Troma just makes silly, funny things that do kind of ape off popular things at the time.
Yeah, and they love doing it.
And we love
it's
doing
fun
it.
to watch.
And it's silly nonsense. So when you see Troma's presenting this, you're like, oh, it's going to be fun. At least it'll be fun.
And we laughed a bit.
It wasn't fun, but it was funny. That's the best way to describe Mr. I want to keep saying Mr. Bones.
Mr. Bones, yeah.
Man,
But that was MR Dot.
I really wish that this was Mr. Bones. William Brooks, you've done a few mystery boxes on this show, and you've had a
Yes.
wide range of types of movies, while we have had a few of very much the same types of movies.
That's true.
You, on the other hand, have had a plethora of different types. Movies and homemade projects and TV shows you have had. What do you think about Mr. Bones in the plethora of ones you have
Mr.
covered?
Scarface.
Fuck!
He really wants to say Mr. Bones. Just let the man say Mr.
Well,
Bones.
first off, what do you think of Mr. Bones? And then, what do you think of Mr. Scarface? Well, you gotta answer.
I haven't seen Mr. Bones, so I can't give an informed opinion on it. What did I think of Mr. Scarface? Well, I have seen worse things, and I did enjoy components.
But compared to like the other mystery box things you've seen,
Overall, Mr. Scarface is a bit too slow-paced and doesn't...
slow motion.
Oh, we'll get to that. Slowly, but we will get there. I enjoyed parts of it, not enough.
Where does it rank in the totem pole?
You got Frosty. You got
Save
Wobots.
the dream!
Save the dream!
Stardust, War Story, or something else, right?
Ooh,
No, that's it. Yeah. And this.
It's a tough choice. Which is the best, which is the worst, and where does this fall? It's a tough choice. It's Sophie's choice.
We usually save this to the end of the episode.
I'm asking now.
Oh, fuck, we're getting right into it. I'm
Because I'll be
sweating
honest,
up a
there's
storm.
not much to talk about with Mr. Scarface.
Are
I'm
you
one thing
sure?
I'm
Are you
more
sure?
going to say Mr. Bones.
Mr. Frosty.
Uh,
Poor Will.
I can't put it above Stardust. 'cause
No
that,
one can. No
that
one
took
can.
me for a ride, Stardust. So But you know what? I'm gonna start this episode off on a positive note. We're gonna be very, very positive here. I'm putting it number 2.
Number
I'm going all the way.
two.
That's
Ooh,
it.
screw you,
Mr.
Frosty.
Scarface is number 2.
Take that, Frosty.
Fuck Frosty. Take that, Tom Kenny. How? Take that.
Fuck Frosty.
Fuck Frosty.
Fuck Frosty.
Would if I could, hanky panky, but I can't, so I won't.
Mr. Scarface is a gangster movie with an abstract beginning that feels like a stage performance that does tie into the end of the movie, but it doesn't make any sense for the majority of it, and it never matches the stylistic choices of the feature film, because the beginning of it's shot with like very little lighting. They've got this weird slow motion effect where it's hard to tell whether they've actually shot it in slow-mo or the actors are just on purposely moving in slow motion. It feels like a dream sequence.
Yeah.
Yet it's not. It's a real sequence.
And when you break down everything that happens, it's pretty literal.
And
It's
it
just
is
done weird.
the motivation for not the main character, but another character who should be the main character, who is blonde, but the child that witnesses the father being brutally murdered is brunette.
Yes,
Was the opening in black and white? Or am I
No,
no, it was
misremembering
just very
that?
dark.
It was just
It
very
was
dark.
so far ago in our brains that it is now in black and white, because time has passed so feverishly since that point.
It was very dreamlike. It was simply
We were all
Lynchian.
stunned because we're like, so Lloyd, what did Lloyd see in this? Is what we kept saying. But we were like, at first we were laughing because he shoots the father like 5 million times, and he's in slow motion. He falls down, and then the father gets back up in slow motion, and he has to keep shooting. And we're like, oh, now it's a trauma movie, right? Like he just refuses to die, but then he does die. And the son gets out of bed while Mr. Scarface is grabbing money off the floor and leaves the gun on the table like an idiot. And then, well, the film heard me. It heard me go, "Oh, you idiot!" Because the kid grabs a gun, the gun's empty, and Mr. Scarface,
That's right.
Mr. Scarbones, he starts laughing and then goes back to the money. And then I'm like, "You idiot! You should just hit the kid and grab the gun." And then he proceeds to slowly get up, hit the kid, and grab the gun. And I'm like, "Okay, the movie heard me. It heard my complaints. This will be one of those movies in which I'm going to be a dick, but then the movie will go, But then the movie proved that it wasn't capable enough of rising to that level. We hard cut to this red dune buggy car driving around in the streets of Italy, and every single person in this movie except for Jack Palance is highly Italian names.
All the credits were Italian. But there was a part where it said it was an Italian-German co-production.
Yeah, I wonder where the Germans came in. Were they
guess it's like
co-financing this and Thunderpants
That's
at
what
the
I was
same
gonna
time?
say, yeah. Also, you admit this film's from the 2000s.
Yes, I think it is. We were all a bit worried, I think, when we saw all the Italian names, because
We hadn't heard any dialogue yet.
we hadn't heard any dialogue, and we all know, whether we've seen them or not, these Italian movies. Let's talk about this. The Italian movies of the 70s, 80s, and 90s, in which they ape off some successful product. They're mockbusters.
Yeah.
And they have bad dubbing, and it's just cheesy action or rape strung together. That's a lot of those Italian movies. And I was worried we we're going to get one of those.
We did get a thing at the beginning that said this film was M or MA, and it was just medium-level violence.
But then there was nudity in the movie, so I guess it didn't really
Yeah.
pay attention. The people in the Australian critics or whatever,
Classification board, yeah.
they weren't watching that part. I think they fell asleep.
Well, you're right, there's a pack of 10 films.
Will, have you seen many or if any of those kind of Italian sleazeball movies, including the spaghetti westerns? I'll chuck those in.
I am not much of a sleaze man. I am a very classy individual. I do not watch anything that is not very high class. So I don't even know Italy exists. I've never seen any Italian films ever.
You hear that?
And I don't know that Italy exists.
You hear that? He's a good boy. Now, Will, now your mum's not listening.
I have never heard of Rome.
Now, Will, now that your mum's no longer listening to the podcast, could you tell us the real answer?
I have read The Name of the Rose by Umberto Eco, but I didn't know he was Italian, guys. I didn't know I haven't seen the movie with Sean Connery, which I don't think is actually an Italian film.
No, he's Irish.
He's not
He is. Oh yeah, he is Irish. Of course, I forgot.
No. Will, thank you for that answer. Bartek, what about you?
I've seen Django. Does Troll 2 count?
Yes.
I've seen Troll 2.
I guess it counts. I mean, that's made in America by some filthy Italians. I have watched much of the cinema in my life, I must admit. There is a great movie called Bronx Warriors, which is a Mad Max ripoff, in which the lead character's name is Trash. And I was worried that this was going to be one of those, when we saw all the little Italian streets and the Italian names, and then it started out with kung fu action.
Yeah, it was like
And I
70s,
was like, oh no.
70s martial arts film music, and I was like, oh, and I said that as a joke, but then one of the first scenes was like a choreographed fight scene.
And that was like one of the 3 in the movie.
Yeah.
I thought
There are fights.
Yeah, but they're not kung fu after that.
No, they're not. No.
Because Bartek was like, oh, it is a kung fu movie. And I'm like, oh no.
I didn't. In my heart, I knew it wasn't, but I was.
Well,
hoping.
we couldn't know. We
Yeah.
couldn't know because it did start out with like him beating up this old man. Our main character, Tony.
Mhm.
You know, white guy protagonist.
Oh, and since we
Pony.
just saw that prologue scene, we assumed that like, oh, this is the kid growing
You
up.
know, the brunette guy who grew up to be a brunette guy.
Yeah.
It's him. He's our main character. Maybe he has something to do with that beginning scene.
The Italian son bleached his hair.
And then,
I don't know what that place is. I've never I don't know the boot land.
But you know the shape.
Oh fuck! I've been exposed.
Get him, boys.
We didn't say anything about the money being a check.
Arrest him. And then you hear like the
Italian
sirens.
sirens.
Woo, woo, woo. So the movie is Italian. That's the movie. So what did you think, guys?
Well, Ryan, the spoken language, I don't know Italian, so I didn't understand a word of
Oh,
this
they
film.
dubbed it really poorly.
Oh.
And we knew this immediately when we had some bad dubbing at the very beginning that made us nearly shit ourselves laughing.
Luigi sent me. I come to collect your weekly premium.
You get nothing, fuck you.
Don't tell me that, friend. Tell Luigi. I'm just his agent, but he wants his dough.
There was so many moments where this old man is getting harassed and he's just like, why don't you fuck off? He says it like really.
Why don't you fuck out of here or something?
Yeah, then later he has one where it's like, it's like, fuck out of
He
here.
used fuck as a verb. That
Yeah.
was the weird thing.
Why don't you fuck away from here or something? I
Yeah.
can't remember exactly what it was, but it was bizarrely phrased.
But what made it better was then he got into like a 5-minute action sequence with this guy, and we never see this old man again.
Yeah, you keep saying old man, but
He was an old man, the guy.
he was
was
older.
older than the
He
main
was a
guy.
bit fit though. He was a bit of a fit old
Yeah,
man.
he was a fit old Italian man. He was like
he was like a
six-
mechanic in like a warehouse or something.
Yeah, he was working with horses. We knew this because we heard them off screen.
we
going,
didn't see any
"Nee."
horses. Yeah,
Horses and the buggies.
And he had a whip that they used.
I thought that was just a rope.
No, it was a whip.
Okay.
Because then the main guy, Tony, he gets whipped with it. He wraps it around his torso and says something like, ooh, you like to play rough. I'm like,
What are you, the Marquis de Sade? You trying to tell me something?
I've had it, you hear? Now fuck out of here.
he's a collector of money.
Yes.
And that's the plot. Tony collects money, and it's a big bad thing that he does because he shouldn't have collected it, even though his bosses asked him to.
Yeah.
And he then does, and then they're all upset.
I think the IMDb description said that he's like a jaded worker of this mafia or whatever.
Oh,
He seemed like a
don't know.
pretty big go-getter to me.
He seemed really, he seemed like he wanted to do the work and he like put down guys that.
But the
I
big,
wish
the
I
big
had that
twist,
work-
the big
work ethic.
twist to that though is, Mr. Scarface is an evil gangster. Mr. Luigi's a good gangster. Our hero works for good gangster, Mr. Luigi. Mr. Luigi's like, he owes me $3 million. Could you go get this for me? And he's like, I can easily do that. I've got it all sorted. There's another guy in the gang called Peppy, who had a fight scene earlier with our main hero because he doesn't like him. And he's like, he'll fail. He sucks. And then he easily gets this money. Like, in one scene, he gets the money. I thought it was going to be, like, the whole movie.
Yeah, the movie's the plot to get the money.
But in the end, he gets the money real easy. And then everyone's flipping out. Like, he got the money. Fuck, we're fucked. Mr. Scarface is going to kill us all. Why did you do this? You fucked us. And I'm like, what? But the twist is that we don't know, and they don't know until later in the movie, is he also took $10 million as well for himself and handed them $3 million. So Mr. Scarface is even more justifiably angry, and now Luigi and his gang are also justifiably fucked. But at the beginning, half the movie, we don't know that fact. So we are sitting there going, why are they angry? He got the money. It's like if you did a GTA mission and the mission was go collect this thing, come back, and you did it. And then it said, failure, you got money. like wasted, you got money. Oh, no.
After we finish this episode, I'm going to be like, Ryan, we fucking did an episode. Why?
Yeah. It's like if in Two Hands, Heath Ledger delivered the money.
Yeah, exactly.
And then Brian Brown is like, we're going to kill you anyway. You delivered the money. It's like, what? It's so dumb. And that's the plot. Like, that's the central plot. And then other things happen. It's basically a lot of chase scenes, a lot of some fighting scenes, but a lot of people talking in rooms.
And there's an unimportant character named Rick somewhere in there.
Rick and what was the old guy's name?
Oh, Napoli.
Trio of heroes.
The trios.
That's basically the plot.
Yeah.
The rest of it are just funny moments.
Funny
dubbing.
moments and slow moments.
No, of interest, I should have said.
Yeah.
Moments of interest are the funny moments and then nothing.
You're beginning to tire me. If I have to fight you like this every week for what you pay our friend, what do you do if you owe more? One of us might get hurt.
There's just a scene halfway through this movie in which they're hanging out at Napoli's place, who's this old guy, who's like an old school gangster guy who's past his heyday.
Yeah.
And he's like giving them first aid because one of them's been injured.
Tony hangs out with him for like the whole
No,
film.
he keeps his guns in his first aid
Oh, that's right, he
kit,
keeps
but
his
there's
guns-
something else in there.
And also, just to establish when Ryan puts in audio, anyone with like a thick Italian accent is Napoli.
Yeah.
Everyone else has like, dub American voices, but Napoli has Italian accent going on.
Napoli's like, I go supply you guns. I keep them in my first aid cabinet. And the first aid cabinet opens and it makes that screeching noise. But what it actually is a small kitten meowing as it jumps out. And he goes, Naughty, how did you get in here? But the big problem is, this is on a wall. And there's no way the cat could have got in there and then closed the door on itself. It could only work if Napoli put him in there. And then opened it. It was like, what are you doing in here? Like, it's so insane.
He wanted to make Rick and
we
Tony
never
laugh.
see that cat again.
No, we don't.
And we never saw it before.
No, we didn't.
So why is it there?
I thought it was a reference to the fact that Tony's first shirt in the film had a cat on it, but no.
And it said the word Brazil.
There's a cat motif going on there.
There was
Except there was only two things.
No, there's a lot of... There is pussy in the film, so I guess,
Oh, right, yes.
the cat motif.
The
You gotta,
sluts, the whores,
you gotta
whatever they
use
call
your
them.
brain. This is a high IQ film.
They want the pussy.
They needed a bad pussy.
You want a good girl, but you need a bad pussy.
And the Emmy goes to David Benioff, B.B. White, Game of Thrones.
This film has a very, very unique style about it. And that style is it ends any plot line within one scene after it being established. Could you talk us through how our hero, Tony, decides to get $3 million? And here's a bit confusing. They treat this like this is America, but it's also still Italy. You know what I mean by that?
I think so.
They talk about...
Could you clarify? I'm
They talk
stupid.
about they have dollars.
Yeah.
And they talk about, like, American things, but it's still in Italy. They still talk about Italian things as well. Like, which is it? They never decide which this is. Are they pretending, like in a spaghetti western, that it's secretly in America, but it's filmed in Italy or Spain? Or are they just Italians? Like, it never wants to truly land.
It's Little Italy.
It's Little Italy. That's the perfect answer. Now, Will, tell us how Tony uses his brains to get out of this pickle and get the $3 million.
All right, so
And when I say
Mr.
Tony, I mean
Mr.
Rick.
Mr. Scarface has given this check to Luigi's gang, but they're not sure how to get the money because it's like, oh, we catch the check, he's gonna kill us. So they're like, Tony's like, I've got fucking no plan to do this. I guess I'll just go cash the check anyway. And Rick, who's staying at his house,
Who's
at
just
the
some
time,
guy. He's just some
Rick
guy.
Rick used to work for Mr. Scarface.
Yeah, that's right, yeah.
But
Mr. Scones.
He's still just some guy.
Yeah, he's just some guy.
He's some guy that the
doesn't
film
matter.
decides is important.
Just some pretty boy, yeah.
Just some pretty blonde guy, yeah.
Just some handsome blonde man.
He's a blonde man. Yeah.
Anyway, Rick has a fucking plan.
Yeah.
He's like, first of all, I need an actor in his 50s with a dignified face. This is key. This is key information. If you're gonna pay attention to anything on this podcast, know that Rick needed an actor in his mid-50s with a dignified face. So they go to the bank. They've got this actor here pretending
Scarface's
to be
bank.
Yeah, to Mr. Scarface's or his accounting firm or some kind of institution where he was performing illicit deeds.
I thought it was his office.
His offices are fucking evil, Bartek. They're all
Well,
evil.
it can't be his office because his office in this scene is downstairs. While we find out later, his
'cause
office
he's looking
is
from
upstairs.
like his financial,
Right.
It's the
So,
place where he's
let's
laundering
just
the
say-
money and things.
Let's just say his
place.
his business front.
His joint.
Where's the scratch at the joint? So,
Anyway, it had really rich, nice wooden doors. They were really nice.
they didn't want to shoot
Anyway,
them.
so Rick comes in dressed as
No, it's actually Tony.
Oh, it was Tony.
Tony actually
Well, I'm
did
sorry, I
something.
wasn't paying attention. Look, Tony did something. Rick came up with of course, they recognized Rick. Fucking hell. So it was Tony in disguise with this actor with the dignified face, and they're pretending to be investigators from the financial bureau.
Yeah.
Looking over the records, and the person running the joint, I believe it's his number one henchman, Mr.
number one.
Mr. Bones. It was the bloke with the mustache. Mr. Bascars.
That's it, Mr. Muscat.
And he rings up Mr. Scarface and says, "Oh no, they're looking for the books, boss." It's like, "What are we gonna do?" And he's like, "Oh, you got to go in there and you got to get my green book,
Just the green,
just the green one.
green
The rest
folder.
are fine, but the green's the one with the sus stuff.
Yeah, you have to get my Oscar-winning movie out of there.
You have to get the green book out of there before Spike Lee finds out. He's gonna be fucking pissed."
Yes, this film is from 2018.
No, it's from before because that's the script for Green Book.
2017.
Oh, you're saying Green Book script wasn't kicking around in the 70s?
I haven't seen it. I don't know.
I gotta compose myself. Mr. Scarface says you've got to get the script for Green Book out of there, and so his number one goes to do it, and then Tony clarifies. It's like, "Oh no, you can't just
Walk in there.
can't just walk in there," and it's like he makes sort of a
He makes
like a hand job gesture, which is supposed to imply bribing.
Then he was doing like a eat something.
No, but
gesture.
Will and I both saw it.
There
and
was
thought it looked like
eventually
a
a hand job
wanking
gesture.
gesture.
No, there was the first one where it was like like an eating gesture. Then there was
bring it
that
up.
one that looked like a wanking one.
elaborate Italian sign language.
Let's not get caught up on the little hand gestures details. Let's focus on the fact that Will is telling us about the fact that the Green Book script is stuck in this room with his dignified face.
It's stuck in there with the actors in Mr. Scarface's office in this particular institution, and the Green Book's there, and that script's got all kinds of sus stuff in it, so they got to get that out there. But it's like Tony in disguise tells his number one, it's, "Oh, you can't just go in there. You never know with this guy. You gotta
bribe him.
You gotta bribe him,
And you gotta bribe him good. I mean, you don't just bribe him for the crime, the fine it would cost for your tax evasion, right? But you gotta cost, if you got other shit in there. And I guess they all come to the conclusion, like, yeah, for a policeman, just some policeman with no badge or anything, we should give him at least $10 million. That's what I mean when they don't figure out if it's American or Italian, right? Because $10 million is a lot of money in, like, American dollars.
Yeah.
But in Italian money, right, there's
Lira.
a difference. Is it still like a fuck ton or what? Because they treat it like, oh no.
Yeah, the exchange rate. Yeah.
So, like, this is what I mean. Like, is it America or is it Italy? This is the problem that the movie never grapples with because it says "Mamma Mia" unironically.
Yeah. Well, that's the only problem because I get the Green Book.
know the exchange rate of Italian yen. But anyway, moving on. So it's like, oh, you got to bribe him, and so they bribe him this
With a blue
obscene
folder.
amount. So they bring this blue folder in that has the money slipped in, to be on the down low.
You mean the Blue Book?
Blue book? Yes, the blue book, the folder,
The book.
the blue book.
The famous Blue Book with the alien information in it? Yeah, go on.
They brought it down. So
That
they
film comes out next year.
bring that into bribe.
It's a TV show, actually.
The actor with the dignified face.
But
wait, this was a point of confusion and contention
Well,
for
not
us in
for
the
me.
audience. All right, look, for people who are paying fucking attention and have like a triple-digit IQ, it's not that confusing. But I was pretty lost because I swore that when he put the blue book with the bribe into the room, I thought the green book had somehow mysteriously vanished.
But no, he just put it on top of the green book and walked
I'm like,
away.
how the fuck did he disappear the green book? He wasn't. No one's been in the room before this.
Will, I got a serious question, and I know your mum's listening now, so she might answer this. Did you ever get object permanence? Or
No,
what?
it's too much. It's too complicated.
You could still see the book as the green.
No,
the
but
blue book was
but
smaller than the green book.
Will's object permanence isn't as strong.
But you can
He
still
saw
see the green
but
book.
he saw something go on top of it, and he only saw the thing that's on top. The rest, gone.
But you can
it's
see
gone.
the rest.
Yeah, but we can see it. He can't. His object permanence is fuck compared to us. Bartek, you're standing on your high ground, being like, I can see things, and poor Will.
No, but I'm
he's
saying
still got like no object permanence.
blind.
I'm saying that the green book was still visible, though. So object permanence.
I know.
Object
that.
permanence is when you don't see it at all.
Yeah, but when a person
didn't
still
see
covers
it.
their face, you can still see that they got a head, right, as a baby, and then they move their hands like, oh my god, everything's here. Will still has object permanence problems. We do not.
So even
we,
partial.
So look,
okay.
the green book's
Right.
there.
We understand.
The green book was there.
It was always there.
Look, I don't know for sure. I'm in the recording studio in Ryan's house. I don't know if any of the outside world still exists.
See, my door has soundproofing on it. But you can still see there's a door. But Will, he can't see anything. It's just soundproofing.
That's it.
him. It's like
This
a
room
void.
is all there is.
So how's he talking about this movie?
Well, he saw the film. It's a memory now.
Right, but it just doesn't exist anymore, like Italy.
I mean, the
Well,
movie's
no,
in the room.
I mean, well, it's memory now.
right.
But it's not physically in front of him, so he's not getting every detail right. I mean, what he's forgetting in this sequence is the man with a dignified face is director Peter Farrelly, and he's just going to take this and get an Oscar win out of it.
And the Oscar goes to Green Book. Green Book has 5 Academy Award nominations this year, winning 3 Oscars: Actor in a Supporting Role, Original Screenplay, and Best Picture.
This should have been the movie. Him slyly getting the money, doing all these things, infiltrating this gang, double cross, mega cross. It should
It'll
have
be
been
a
like
thriller.
Miller's Crossing. We just covered this on Pictures Power a while back. And that movie had a very similar thing, and could have been where like one gang member infiltrates another gang and plays both sides against each other, and then the balance is restored. This could have been that. But instead, the movie, it's just like, oh, I got the money in one scene, I gave it back, and now it's a problem. Because the movie needs to continue.
Yeah.
That's the only reason there's a problem with him getting the $3 million. Then they add later that he actually took $10 million and only gave them $3 million. That's a real problem. But why is it initially a problem when he gives them $3 million? Because to them, they're like, that's what he owes us. You got to go get that. And then he does. Unless the movie would have been smarter and they were doing it on purpose, thinking that he would die doing so. But Luigi genuinely likes him, Tony.
Yeah. He gets things done.
Well, Pepe, he doesn't like him.
He just bitches around.
Pepe's a cunt.
Pepe Le Pew.
I was thinking of Pepe Le Pew, yeah.
I keep wanting to call him Pepe Le Pew. Is it Pepe or Pepe? Which one was he? Because I think they pronounced it both ways. Which is he? The meme or the skunk? Because in the end, he does turn out to be a skunk of a character. He does kill Luigi in the face.
I think they called him Pepe.
Pepe.
Maybe.
Pippi Longstockings. That scene was absurd, and it's probably still the best scene in the movie, like as a scene.
Yeah, because stuff was happening, and there was.
And it was a smart plan.
Yeah.
I thought it was genuine, like, oh, this is clever. This is clever.
He just forgot to pick up the green book.
Well, yeah, we thought he was going to pick up the green book, but instead he put it on top. I think the logic is the bribe, like now you don't touch it kind of thing, is what the
bribe
assumption
was on top.
The assumption is.
Yeah,
like,
but
Here's an assumption
just
for
that his
me. I didn't
instructions-
see it was on top.
His instructions were to get it though, so that's I guess what we were stuck on.
We were stuck on the small details of hand gestures and object permanence.
We have to find an actor with a strong face, with authority, distinguished, about 50.
What about this movie makes it so dull?
So for every scene that we can talk about that's, fun, that we had a laugh in, that had a good line, that brought up a conversation, there were like 2 or 3 more scenes where we were just waiting for something to happen to entertain us.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that it? Is that the only reason?
I'm sure there are other reasons, but I think that was the main thing. Like, there were many times where we just brought up, this is so slow.
Yeah. It's slow. It's old. Like, the quality of the film is really old, scratchy, crappy.
Yeah, there were like...
splotches and imperfections.
The very top line of the screen, like, 60% of it had white lines going across it.
These weird little white lines, like
That's
stitches.
okay, as long as the movie could be interesting. But the big problem is we have these little spurts of humor that are unintentional, and then the rest of it is just this slow plodding gangster plot that doesn't even make sense because the movie needs to continue.
Yeah, and it insists on having the twist of like, 10 million.
Yeah, but then the actual twist is, Rick is the guy from the beginning. Spoiler alert.
Yeah, the pretty boy that didn't seem to do much at the start, but then started doing everything.
And the big problem I have overall, other than the scenes being dull and slow, is the big problem of the script as well as the movie is, and I kept saying it during the movie, Tony shouldn't have been the main character of this movie. He should have been like the kicking off point, but he shouldn't have been the main character. It's like if you watch Casablanca, and instead of Rick being the main character in Casablanca, which is ironic because the actual main character of this movie should also have been the character of Rick, but if it was Peter Lorre was the main character in Casablanca, the guy who had the papers, like, that wouldn't have been as interesting. Do you know what I'm saying? Because Tony is basically that character. He's the one who takes the money, but he doesn't have anything more, except for they want to have this thing where it's like, he wants to go to Brazil. But why?
Should we explain the significance of Brazil in this movie?
He has a cousin there. The end. Like, that's it.
And the cousin seems to be doing well for themselves.
Except for at the end, you find out he isn't. Twist.
Oh, because if you hadn't been helping us from up there, we'd have been cooked by now. Cooked.
Maybe Napoli's right.
Well, where to?
What do you mean where? To Brazil. We can finally visit my cousin. But he hasn't got a cent anymore.
He went broke?
Twice. He even called me the other day from Rio. He tried to put the bite on me. He's flat on his ass, hasn't got a pot to piss in. In fact, he's cleaning the beach at Copacabana.
Yeah, after the first scene, the fight scene with the old guy, the mechanic, he goes to this guy's house, and that guy also did, like, the weird hand signs, and we...
Yeah, we thought he was going to be more important in the movie. He was just going to another guy's house to get money.
And he was a really weird guy, because it was like, can he speak?
He's this old guy who's got this very slicked hair and very fake-looking moustache, but it's a real moustache? I don't know. It was so odd, him. He was just like... And he got out of bed with this sexy lady, young sexy lady, and he opens the door, he's in his pajamas, and the guy's like, so, I'm Tony. You owe money? You going to give me the money?
And he's like shrugging, like, what are you saying? I don't know what?
Like he's some old Alzheimer's guy who doesn't speak a single word of English. See, that's what I mean. Like, is it America or is it Italy? Decide which you're going to go with.
Is this an immigrant
Didn't
from Italy and
Pepe
America?
say he was paralyzed and then he's
Yeah!
not?
He's like, yeah, he's an old paralyzed guy. Should be no problem. The guy's fucking walking.
And then after he closes the door, he's talking fine.
He's spry.
No, that was the best. That was one of the best dubs moments where it's like you got this old guy who's like, I don't know what you say. Don't know. And then as soon as he closes the door, he still walks like he's this frail old man, turns to the woman and goes, all right, I gotta get out of here. And like immediately you get an understanding of who his character was. And until you just brought up now that he existed in the movie, I forgot about him.
Yeah.
I completely forgot about him. And now that I remember, I was like, oh yeah, I thought he was going to be important. I thought he was going to be like something important.
He had this really like weaselly look about him.
And the way the dubbing did it and the acting of it is he's pretending, then immediately, and then he sends a bunch of guys to go kill Tony.
Yeah, and Tony even has like a word with his woman at one point.
And it feels like it's this, he did it again. Kind of like, this is the first time he's met these people.
Yeah.
I thought he was going to come back, this old guy, but he never came back. Again, don't get used to people in this movie.
Yeah, the old mechanic and this guy are basically just set up to show what Tony's like.
Get the fuck out.
The film has trouble with object permanence.
Yeah, it really does.
Well, the best I can do is come back this afternoon. So, this afternoon's no good either, huh? I'd hate to have to mess up that nice hair of yours.
We keep calling the movie Mr. Scarface. indicating that Mr. Scarface is one, in the movie a lot, and two, a character. The third thing is he's neither of the first two things. He is just a guy in the movie. And that's fine. You can have movies named after characters that are actually important, but the movie feels like he should be important because they do have him in there, but he doesn't do anything.
Yeah,
they make it sound like he himself is a powerful, scary gangster. Not just he has power. It's like you do not mess with him because he personally will fuck you up, and we never see him do anything.
Yeah, and every time you see him, because he is the face and the title of the film and like the main actor, I guess.
He's
he's
a
top
well-known
billed.
actor, a well-known American actor.
Every time you see him, you are at attention because you think, okay, something's gonna happen with this guy. And that's okay, but then towards the end of the film, what they end up doing with him, it's like, oh.
He kills one person in the dreamy sequence at the beginning. That's it.
Yeah, and then the climactic scene of the film is
he goes on like a
triggered by...
chump.
Yeah, the climactic scene of the film, he dies like at the beginning of it, and then there's just this really long sequence.
He's also, his last words were, when he died, he was thinking he was doing a drug deal. His men get all shot and killed around him, and the guy monologues, and he just goes, "So what, we're not making a deal?" So he's even dumb as well as useless.
It's very strange because in his first scene when he walks into the gambling house,
the pool hall or whatever.
Hall.
The first time you see him in the present, yeah.
People over, it's like, oh fuck! They're all intimidated. It's like, oh god, we can't fuck with this guy. And then by the end of it, Rick shoots his number one henchman. Ryan and says, and then has to go at him, and he's like, "Oh wow, we're not gonna make a deal."
Like he's such a pathetic.
I can't
character.
believe this.
Yeah, despite his scary scar, like nothing came of it.
It's called Scarface, and that's obviously alluding to the Al Capone and Al Pacino comparison, right? He did not have a real scar, obviously, but they didn't have a huge scar on his face to the point in which most of the movie were like, why doesn't he have a scar on his face?
There was a point where I pointed it out and Ryan said, no, that's not it. And I
thought it was a vein on his face.
It looked a lot like a vein.
And then we realized it was a scar, and it's like a small scar that looks like a teardrop from his eye.
Yeah.
Which could be an awesome thing, like if they made it a big one or whatever. But no, he has this tiny little scar, and they call him Scarface. It's like Bartek, you said, you have a scar on your head.
Yeah, my forehead.
No one calls you Scarface.
No, because it wouldn't make sense, because it's just like hidden by my fringe.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you hide it. He can't. It's on his cheek.
Yeah.
But it's still so ludicrously tiny. Like, did Jack Palance, the actor, just go, nah, I'm not sitting in the makeup chair. Not sitting in that chair. You just give me one of those temporary tattoos on my face, I guess, like of a white mark, and that'll be fine, and the audience will know.
And like every time he you couldn't see his lips, but you could see the scar. It just looked like he was crying for real, like he was sad, and I kept laughing at that.
Here's the thing, though. Great acting from him. Like they did dub him, I think. It didn't sound like Jack Palance to me, but like. He looks genuinely intimidating. He looks odd. He's menacing, but he never actually physically does anything in the movie. I made a joke before, I made a joke while watching it, that it feels like a complaint more so, that anyone can come up to him. Like, anyone could come up to him, and that feels so weird. Like, in gangster movies like this, it doesn't feel like I could walk up to Don Corleone and just walk up to him and be like, "Hey, Don!" Like, anyone could walk up to Scarface in this world, and no hostilities are met to these people. It's just like, he's like, "Hey, what's up?"
Yeah.
It feels like I could walk into his office and be like, "Yo, I got a deal for you," and he's like, "Do tell."
There were many times where you, Ryan, were also pointing out, like, why doesn't Scarface just kill the person that's right in front of him?
Or why don't people have guards that actually guard, like Pepe later? He gets murdered by Rick, and he's in, like, an office, but he doesn't have any guards. Why?
There were, like, a million people playing pool in, like, the next room behind, like, a screen, but other than that, yeah.
It's so...
He didn't even have a door, he just had a curtain.
I'm paying for Luigi. Huh?
May I bring up a point? Is it okay to jump right to the climax of the film?
Yeah, jump us to the climax. Give us a good orgasm.
All right, we're jumping there. It's weirdly structured, the final battle. All right, so you've got Mr. Scarface, right, who's your main antagonist. You've got his number one, the bloke with the mustache.
And then
his
you got
henchman.
11 other guys.
Then you've got some sort of... Then you got a bunch of randos.
The mooks.
And then, but you've sort of got some other guys who've sort of shown up before. Like, there's that bloke with the kind of flowing hair.
Yeah, and
who,
there's a
like,
guy
smacked a guy with a gun.
And there's a guy in
right?
a blue suit that we've seen before, yeah.
So, he's got some distinct henchmen, but it's weirdly structured, the final battle, because they kill the number one right off the bat, and he's like, "Oh, what? Aren't we gonna make a deal?" And then they kill Mr. Scarface pretty anticlimactically.
Yeah.
Then they kill off the other prominent henchman pretty quickly as well.
And then you have 9 minutes.
9 minutes of
screen
just
time.
fighting random guys.
It's like backwards, isn't it?
It's like the wrong way round.
Yeah, it's completely backwards.
Like, I don't mind necessarily that you kill the main antagonist and then you have a shift. Like, spoiler alert for Django Unchained, but they did a very similar thing in which you kill the main antagonist and you still have 20 minutes left of the movie, right? That happens. And you still have a movie because you still have another prominent character to go off of, Samuel L. Jackson's
Or
character.
the organization has a plan that the death of its leader, won't stop it.
Oh, yeah, but more so that there's another prominent character. So say if they killed Scarface, you still had the number one guy. You still had him, but they killed him first, and then Scarface, and then you're left with a bunch of random people you don't know.
And they kill him like they kill him in like reverse, like you said, reverse order. It's like
Yeah.
the most prominent henchman we've seen the most of get off really quickly, and then it's just extras. They're fighting extras.
It's like if
And some of them look the same too.
They might have been the same guys. It's not impossible.
It's like if you played a Crash Bandicoot game, and you killed Engine and then Cortex, and then went back for Ripperoo.
And
like
then
it's
Papu
and then
He was
Papu
just
Papu.
sleeping in his hut.
Yeah, and you ended it with Papu Papu.
No. You ended it by the first level. Going to the beach.
yeah, no, exactly. It's not even necessarily playing it backwards. It's playing in the wrong order. Like, you kill... No, that's not even the... I'm not even saying the first game. What was the scientist one in the first game?
Embryo.
Embryo. You kill Embryo, and then you get Cortex. Then you go back to the first chapter of the game and end there. Like, it's so ludicrously
On a freeze
dumb.
frame.
On a freeze frame of you on a bridge, and that's it. Like, it's so dumb. Yeah, the last fight sequence in this movie, we have to mention it now because the rest of the movie, like, it's just comedy bits. There's no real dramatic, poignant scenes. We've talked about getting the money scene and the final battle. Those are the most dramatically, structurally unique, interesting, or flawed. The rest of them are just scenes of people talking and planning, but the plans aren't interesting. Like the plan of, we need a guy with a distinguished face. You immediately go, what are they going to do? And then they show you and you go, you know what? That's pretty good. That's pretty good. You're not like thrilled necessarily, but you're not like disappointed. You're like, that's a good plan. The big problem is, you mentioned it just a moment ago, why doesn't Scarface kill anyone in this movie, right? I kept asking that. The big thing is, though, Scarface never has that moment of retaliation that actually works. Or even threatening. The most threatening thing he does is send 3 guys over halfway through the movie to get them, and that's it.
Is that the chase scene with Tony through the streets?
No. I'm talking about when they
send him
attack
to,
at the
Napolis?
house.
Oh, right, yeah.
Yeah, when they attack at the pizza man's house, Napoleon's house, or whatever his name was.
Napoli, yeah.
I thought they said his name was Natalie when they very first said it.
So Natalie Wood's house, they send 3 guys to attack him and get the other 2. That's the only time he really retaliates, because later on there's a scene that you just allude to where they chase Tony down the street. Tony initiates that. He goes straight to Scarface's face and is like, yeah, I'm here. What are you going to do about it? And it's all planned out already what's going to happen. That's not really, like, you know what I'm talking about? Like, you need that scene in which they strike back and they hit the main characters in a place they didn't expect. I kept saying, like, the old funny guy, Napoleon Dynamite, he would get killed. And it would make those 2 characters get their shit together and be like, shit, this is real. But they never had that moment.
Yeah, I was saying that he wasn't going to die because he was like too funny. It's like, oh, the funny guy.
Yeah, but sometimes they kill those kind of characters in movies.
I know, but
to
this
draw
one
something from the audience.
I know, but this one I felt it. They weren't.
Oh, I
gonna do
knew
it.
on a level, but it would have been better. They try to do it like, oh no, Luigi died, but the main characters, 2 of them don't know who Luigi is or don't care. And then Tony didn't actually care.
And for us, we kept asking, like, have we met Luigi yet? Because his name was brought up a lot.
But then when we did, we realized we hadn't.
Yeah.
And then he died pretty quickly. Can we talk about that scene? The Luigi death scene?
Oh, yes.
That scene introduces something very important. Explosions. This film later will go on to have explosions a lot. And this introduces that they have nonsensical explosions. Will, do tell us about our good friend Pepe Le Pew or Pepe or whatever he was. Pippi Longstockings and Luigi.
All right, so Pepe is an ambitious man and a prick. And he's been confronted by Mr. Scarface, and he's a turncoat now. He's going to
He got kicked in the
murder.
balls.
He got kicked in the balls, and now he's a Judas. So he's going to betray Luigi and murder him to get into Mr. Scarface's good graces.
Yeah.
And he does this by... I mean, Luigi has skipped town at this point, and then I think he came back, or
because
Pepe came
Pepe
to
called him up and be like, yo, let's talk.
All right, Ryan's paying attention. He knows the score. So he gets him back, and he very suddenly shoots him right in the head, shoots him right in the forehead.
Yeah.
Bang.
And just to clarify, what we'll just
Pepe
explain,
shoots
what we'll just
Luigi straight in
explain,
the
the
head.
audience doesn't know at this point. We figure this out because he shoots Luigi in the head.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's why it was very sudden.
So it's sudden.
And so then he places Luigi, if I'm remembering the
Places him-
events as they occurred, he places Luigi, now deceased, into the car, and he grabs a can of petrol that's clearly water, and he just starts getting it all over the place. He's spraying it all over the car, and it's in the car, and then he pushes the car into...
Like, for a good minute,
Not
he
even to,
gently
like-
pushes the
yeah.
car, and he doesn't just push it and lets it go on its own. He walks with it while pushing it.
He gently pushes it, not even like a particular slope, just kind of just off the road. Not into like a ravine or anything dramatic
like the edge of
that.
the woods or something.
Just like the edge
Not
of
even that, it
no,
was just some
like
rocks.
a nice park. It's a patch of grass that could do with some maintenance. So he pushes him there, and then he gets his petrol, and he's doing a trail from the car to an arbitrary point where he decided to it, and then he throws the petrol can towards the car so that there's evidence of what he's done. And then he it spins around. It spins around, but don't worry, there's more. And then he sets fire to it, and the trail slowly engulfs into flames. But then the car bursts into flames well before the trail has met it.
And then in another shot where it's on fire, you can see that there's no trail going up to it.
And
it's
then,
just at the front
then
and the
it
thing's on
explodes.
fire.
Now the thing,
in a fire explosion.
Now the thing that drove me crazy about this, you guys were focused on those details. What drove me crazy about it was I was like, what's his plan here? Like, why didn't he just set it on fire where it was? And I think you and both Bartek and Will stated, well, it's going to make it look like a car crash. That's what's going to happen. And I'm like...
I think that was Will, yeah.
That sounds like the kind of stupid shit I'd say.
And I just went, but that wouldn't work before he threw the gas thing, because he's made a trail and lit it from there. It's obviously, the earth is going to scorch down, and it's going to be obvious. And then they'll trace petrol to be like, oh, this got set on fire and pushed down or whatever. But then he threw the petrol back towards the car. And it immediately fell apart. It was like, why did we watch a minute of him pushing this car down the road? Because we needed the film to reach 90 minutes.
And also because the petrol bottle span when he threw it, some of it could have gotten on him, and that's more evidence.
Yeah, or more evidence as his dead flamed body.
It's like, why do you smell like petrol, Pepe?
There's no real cops in this movie,
and
so it's fine.
Yeah, I don't think we ever really see an
There
actual
was a traffic
cop.
cop.
An actual cop,
you're
I
right,
said.
yeah.
Shots fired.
Shots fired, traffic police that's giving way to cars. What made this movie entertaining other than bad dubbing? Weird choices made, like the pushing the car down the ravine or whatever, was the narrative I focused on of these characters trying so hard not to come across as gay. Because we
and
go
Napoli's
to
fashion, like,
we
fighting against that.
Because we go to Tony's house or his apartment, and every single thing on the wall is a poster or a picture
Skimpy
of
women.
skimpy naked women. And I said, I was really trying to prove he's not gay. And then Bart's like, you're like, oh, but only to people he lets in. And then when we see he opens the front door, the front of the door is covered as well. So he's making sure that everyone who ever goes near his place knows he's not gay.
Yeah, like some goons like break in there, then like look around for a few seconds and leave.
And I was like, man, they should have had some dubbing where it's like, well,
I thought he was gay.
I thought he was gay. And then like looks at one of the naked pictures. Like, I thought he was gay. And then the other guy's like, well, I guess he's not. Or one of those classy, this would have been such a trauma thing. The gangsters go there and then they grab one of the pictures and look at it, and it cuts to a close up of the naked lady. It cuts back to the guy and he's like, like, oh boy. And then Tony's somewhere in the house while he's looking at that and like smacks his head into the picture. Right, and knocks him out. That would have been really good.
Like
that would be a trauma
like,
thing. That would be like a trauma, that would be a Metal Gear Solid trauma thing. But instead, we don't get anything fun. So we have to make our own narrative of Rick and Tony are clearly gay for one another because Rick is a little blonde guy. He's like, I guess he's not a twink. He's a hunk.
He's very capable.
Tony's
Is he a
such
twunk? Or...
He's a twunk. Well, Tony is such a twink. And Tony...
he gets whipped at one point, I
he
guess.
does, and he says, I like it. Mamma mia! And we have to make that our narrative. And at first, this is a usual thing. First part's like, you're like, yeah. But then eventually, there just comes points where there's so little to grab onto. In this movie, we just have to make our own narrative.
To be blunt, we were making just a bunch of gay jokes.
Well, we were making a bunch of straight jokes too.
That's true, yeah.
Where it was like, oh, you're straight?
It was equal opportunity.
We were equally offensive to both.
Yeah.
No lesbian jokes, though. Bummer.
No, there was a scene where there were a bunch of men and women in a bed, but we focused on the men.
We did focus on the
That's
men.
where our attention
goes. Because we all went, how gay is it to have an orgy where you have 2 guys and
3 women?
No, it was like
4 women.
4 women. Okay.
I guess I was too focused on the men.
Pay attention.
We immediately, it was weird when they probably slapped their dicks side to side.
Well, I don't know anyone ready to hide you guys, huh?
What about Clara and those 2 whores? They'll look after us, and we can bang them, too.
Ah, you will, huh? And if you can't get it up some night, they sell you out, huh?
No, I know a safe place.
Oh, there was one other scene I think is of prominence to talk about. There's few, but really they're all kind of boring. The one that I think we all got a good chuckle out of, and confused chuckles, is Napoli is like phoning Scarface himself. And he's being all cocky and being all like, I killed your men, I did it, I'm so cool.
This was right after the one Scarface retaliation that Ryan talked about earlier.
And I have parked the car outside your office. You better get it quick before, like, parking inspectors come to get it, because I parked it crappily.
Yeah, he's like, you wouldn't want to get a parking ticket to this, like, big mafioso
it's this really funny
gangster.
cat and mouse game. And we keep cutting to him in the phone booth, right?
Yeah.
And we keep cutting to Jack Palance and his number 1 in the office. And they're looking down the street, and he's like, the number 1 gets sent down there. What we didn't realize until the number 1 is at the car is that Napoli's at a phone booth on the same street, literally right next to that car. And then he tells them that he's there, and they don't get him. They let him go? And the street was empty. But then later in the movie, Jack Palance says Scarface is like, yeah, you 3, go get Tony. In the populated streets.
Yeah. In the middle of traffic.
With the traffic cop.
What was that? Like, I just get so lost. And then Scarface is like, yeah, his one weakness is he's cocky. And then he never gets...
Know what I
That's
mean? Know what I mean? See?
You know what I mean? like, it's a pretty obvious statement. But what I mean is, like, Scarface then says, like, he's cocky. And you're thinking, in a good movie, they would use that cockiness and get him. And then the main characters, Rick and Tony, will snap into gear or something. Whether they don't kill him or not, they just capture him. But they don't do anything. Instead, they decide, hey, come meet me at the butcher's house or whatever it is, the old slaughterhouse. And we're going to have a shootout scene there for 10 minutes in which you're dealt with in 1 minute.
Wait, so that was a slaughterhouse area, and that was also where
the guy
Rick grew up?
Because his dad was the butcher.
Right, that's right.
Big twist.
Big twist. Rick's the main character. Big twist.
Oh, mamma mia, what a perfect spot. Why, nobody could find us here.
This film is an interesting one nonetheless, but would we recommend it, William? Sorry. Wild Wet Will?
Wet and Wild Will?
Wet Wild.
It's time to get wet and wild and Will here. Look, I already said it was the second best out of the mystery box ones. Opinion I'm just gonna stick with. So yeah, watch it on YouTube and jump around. Skip the boring bits. Jump around.
Jump
around.
Jump around. Bartek?
I don't hate that I've seen it, but it wasn't that great. So, I'd say if you can, I think I might have said this also with Media Apocalypse, if you can find a cut that someone's made of it that's called like the best of Mr. Scarface, you could probably watch that and have a laugh. Watching the whole film on its own, though, definitely not alone.
Not alone. I think for me, it's a no.
Yeah.
I think I did say yes for Meteor Apocalypse. I think I was a bit like, I don't know, I can't remember. But
we were both pretty negative on it.
I liked Meteor Apocalypse more. I think the problem is, here's the difference. Meteor Apocalypse, I think you could do a supercut, but I think it would drain some of the humor from that because a part of it is the journey too.
Yeah.
Well, this, you could just splice them together and watch that, and you don't need anything more. However, I do appreciate that this is a film.
Yeah.
It's made with film. It's classy. Like, even though I mentioned the nudity and the sexual stuff, it's still not gross or weird or misogynistic or racist or any of these things. It's just there. I would not recommend it, no. But I wouldn't say it's the worst thing ever.
No.
It's fine.
Do you hate that you've seen it?
I don't hate that I've seen it.
here.
However, I was bored a lot. There was just many times in which I just sighed out loud, like, and that's the best way to describe it. It's got a couple of interesting jokes and funny things in there, intentional or unintentional, and that's it. Don't bother with it. Trauma, you could have done better.
You could have picked better.
You could have made this into something interesting with your own dubbing, like a Ghost Stories thing, but instead we get this, and it's odd.
Yep. So at the end of the credits, we saw there was a 1997 message, and so that's probably when Troma acquired the rights to it and put like Lloyd.
When they consumed it, yeah.
Yeah. But the film did not come out in 1997, so we have to all give our guesses of when we thought it was.
William?
Whoa. It's, I feel lost in the woods here. Just really, really, really lost. So,
yeah, right?
Where should I go?
This is a tough one.
Where should I go? I'm not confident in it, but I'm sort of leaning in on a time frame. Let me just kind of calibrate it in 1986. I'll go with
86 is a good choice.
Hit me.
See, so my big difficulty still is deciding the decade.
Yeah.
Let alone the fucking year. Because my toss-up is between the 70s or 80s, right? Because this has such a specific style of thing. However, I'm going to lock in the 80s like Will did. For the simple reason of, before we talked, you mentioned the Scarface with Al Pacino, and that was made in 1983. However, I wasn't thinking about that. I was thinking about Jack Palance himself.
Yep.
I'm thinking about him in the Batman 1989. That's the end of the 80s, and he looks younger here. So it can't be the late 80s. It has to be the earlier 80s. I'm going to lock in 1984 because this movie is a dystopian nightmare. And that's how I feel.
My guess when watching it was, and I've already told you that I was very close.
About to find out.
So I'm glad you asked me last. My guess was 1977.
Oh, fuck!
It was 1976.
Is this one of the oldest things we've watched?
This is second to Tommy.
Yeah, second to Tommy. And the oldest thing we've watched for the mystery box.
Yes.
1976.
76.
Damn.
Oh, fuck.
I wasn't even remotely close.
I was shocked that I was close. I was a year off.
I didn't want to say it was that old, but fuck.
I'm still lost.
I should have pushed myself. Oh, fuck me. Oh, they knew how to make movies in the 70s, didn't they? This was a year before Star Wars.
Yeah.
Think about that. This came out when Star Wars was being filmed. That's neat. We'll even mention Peter Cushing and how Jack Palance had cheekbones like him, but then we
Yeah, they
talked
do
about
have
Rogue
good-
One and how Rogue
Oh,
One
no.
sucks so fucking hard. Save the dream! Save the dream! Forrest Whitaker, you motherfucker. Handing in the same performance every single movie in the last decade? Love you still. I wish that this movie was made today. And they dragged that CGI technology for Jack Palance. They used that CG for his Mr. Scarface. And the scar that they put on his face is like a little CGI explosion.
His whole face should be the scar.
No, just the same. Like that teardrop thing, but it's a little explosion.
It's just on fire.
No, not just on fire. Constantly exploding. And no one mentions it. They still call him Mr. Scarface. It's weird that it's called Mr. Scarface. Why couldn't they just call it Scarface? Obviously, there might be some copyright with the original 1940s movie.
Yeah, but this was before the really notable 80s one.
Yeah, exactly. The remake by Brian De Palma. Okay, so it came out in 1976. That's insane.
Mm-hmm.
We are stuck in the room now. We're stuck here. We can't end the episode because we're still... The best way to say this is we are still in shock of the movie's release date to the point in which Jack Palance's ghost has come to visit us to try and wake us out of this shock. We all need to help him with our telepathy powers. Each one of us needs to suggest an option to him of how to wake each of us up out of our shock.
So we need to be shocked and get a guide to help us stop being shocked?
Yeah, because we can't do it ourselves. That's not how shock works.
But we're able to help someone
Well, he's a ghost.
help us?
He's a ghost. But he needs to physically do something to us. We can't. We're physically in shock.
But we have to suggest it while in shock?
Psychically, though.
Well,
Suggesting
he's a
psychically.
ghost. He can.
Oh,
he
is
can.
this the kind of ghost he is then?
He's a supernatural being. There's no limit to his powers.
Okay.
He's the kind of ghost that can touch, apparently, too.
He's a poltergeist.
He's a poltergeist.
He can touch things.
Jack Palance is so upset right now at your insinuations that he's gay, that he's going to be, like, turning his back and going, I was not the gay one in that movie. I had a scar on my face.
I don't think that, but I'm in shock, so I guess I will say that.
Looked like some cum, but, we need to mentally suggest some tricks that he could do to help us. Maybe something influenced by the movie. I'm suggesting with my mental powers that he needs to kick me in the balls real good. That'll wake me up. That'll wake me up real good. Bartek?
I found out about the year an hour ago, so it's not as strong with me, but it's still present.
Yeah. Your beard's trembling.
My beard is trembling, that's true.
On its own.
I think I'll need to get I think I'll need him to play upon my fragile masculinity. I need him to, apparently, since he has ghost powers that are beyond just, being a ghost, I want him to transmit an image of the three leads of this film in their buggy driving towards me. threatening me with the idea that, oh god, not only am I stuck in a room with 2 other guys and a guy ghost, but there will soon be these 3 guys here too, and not a single whore or friend in sight.
I love the idea that instead of him projecting it with like ghost powers, he instead grabs an iPad and plays a video, but he has problems figuring out how to play a video because he's Jack Palance. He still has the knowledge of Jack Palance from like the 80s or the 90s whenever he died, and he's like struggling to figure this out, and you are just like getting more and more in shock and can't help him, and he's taking like half an hour to figure it out, and he has to phone up his niece, and his niece suggests options, and he's like, oh, okay, I got it now, and then he plays it, and then you're like, oh, thank God.
But then it's still 3 guys coming at me, so I have to like get over it.
Yeah, you have to get over it. I mean, you have to stop being wrecked about it. William, what are you suggesting to Jack Palance's ghost with your mental mind telepathy powers?
Psychically, I think I'll suggest to the Phantom of Jack Palance to head down to that pizza joint near Chatty, pick me up a calzone, bring that back to the room, and the sweet aroma of the calzone will awaken us all from our shock.
That is true. It is Italian. I love the idea, too, that while he's doing that, he accidentally takes the iPad with him because he kind of needs it.
Yeah, for Google Maps.
No, he needs it just to watch something on the bus ride. Because Jack Palance, he doesn't want to just sit on the bus and just look at people. And people look at him like he's a ghost. Like,
he doesn't know
Jack
about
Palance wants to put in his earbuds.
He doesn't know about podcasts,
Yeah, he doesn't know about our podcast. And he's still trying to figure out technology. And then he goes to the pizza place and they're like, Jack Palance's ghost. Like, they know. Because he's a regular.
Also, for everyone listening, extra note, Chatty refers to Chadston Shopping Centre, the fashion capital mall of
The world.
Oh no, Bartek, don't dox Chadston.
I didn't give its address.
Oi. I don't even think they have pizza places in there. So.
Whoa, Flames Pizza moved there. They're near Chisholm's. TAFE, you fucker!
Jack Palance's ghost orders us that calzone. Bartek's scared of 3 men coming at him. I get kicked in the balls real good. We're all awake. We're all feeling good. We thank Will for coming on the show and helping us break down the choice that he made.
And giving us a calzone.
And I can bravely say that, Will, I'm not upset that you chose this.
Because
like
Ryan
I was with War Story.
Ryan's pissed off at the Italian film he picked. Well, it wasn't Italian, but,
The 4th tenor.
My party. Tutto amor, Silvio, Segro, King Control, Bella C, Kill Me, Encore.
Thank you, Will, for coming on. It's been a pleasure to hear your rants and raves.
Thank you.
Make sure to subscribe to Wet Wild Will on Pornhub.com. You'll find someone called that, I'm sure. Whether it's Will or not, you'll find out. Bartek, a pleasure as always to be going into the dark, murky tunnels that is the box. That is Troma as well.
Troma in the box.
As always, listening people, we are on all the podcast platforming sites available. Do rate and review us on whichever ones allows it. It's very much appreciated. Dare I say unappreciated? No, it is appreciated. But your reviews are always a masterpiece. Always a masterpiece to us.
In our hearts.
In our minds.
If you're a girl.
Or a boy.
No, girl.
Or other.
Or Brazilian.
Also, I wasn't erect.
Or a pet. And as always, you've been fantastic, amazing, wonderful listening people. You can find us on the social medias of Facebook and Twitter. Do message us on those or shout us out or whatever. Or say, I'm Jack Palance's ghost.
Yeah, do it. We have a 44-minute response rate.
Exactly.
According to Facebook.
And we can be found Spit and Polish Presents. You'll find us pretty easy. And that's about it. We have an email that's in the description as well, but that's spitandpolished@gmail.com.
Yep, Spit and Polish Ed, our guy Ed, he answers the emails.
Hey, it's me, Ed. And, we do like to get some emails if you have some suggestions for movies to cover on our weekly show, Pictures Power, or you have death threats, or if you're Jack Palance's agent and you're very upset that we used his name in vain.
Didn't we get a scam once?
If you're a scam...
During the Major Pain episode?
If you're a scam us if you like. We'll send it to the Hoax Hotel.
We'll send it to the Hoax Hotel.
And yeah, that's about it. Until next time, listening people, remember, Mamma Mia!